On the following day, when the cultivators awoke from the ground, every single one of them discovered that their cultivation had advanced by an entire realm. Ecstatic joy swept through the crowd. In a single night, they had achieved what normally required countless days of painstaking cultivation. Just like the first 6 pioneers, they immediately contacted friends and companions, urging them to come and share in this opportunity. Li Fan remained silent throughout, observing everything from the sidelines while making rough calculations. Before the Azure Ox Cart could reach Cloudwater Palace, nearly 2 nascent soul cultivators, 6 golden core cultivators, 19 foundation establishment cultivators, along with numerous chi refinement cultivators, had already entered that mysterious thatched hut. 1 month later, the outline of Cloudwater Palace finally appeared on the horizon, faint yet unmistakable. The Azure Ox Cart had at last arrived at its destination. Li Fan and the surrounding cultivators instinctively maintained their distance, choosing to observe from afar. The Azure Ox released a deep and resonant cry before rising into the heavens. Its hooves stepped upon empty air as it pulled the 2-wheeled cart behind it. Then, without hesitation, it charged directly toward the azure halls of Cloudwater Palace. Blue and azure radiance intertwined, flickering brilliantly across the sky. Without the slightest sound, the ox cart quietly disappeared into Cloudwater Palace. A collective sigh of regret spread among the cultivators, yet more than a dozen individuals, either emboldened by previous experiences within Cloudwater Palace or driven purely by curiosity, chose to follow after it. Through the eyes of one such cultivator, the scene shifted and arrived at Cloudwater Palace itself. Before the towering main gates, the Azure Ox shrank back to an ordinary size. Pulling its cart behind it, it proceeded slowly forward, yet the moment it passed Qin Tang's statue, it abruptly stopped. With a loud crash, the door of the thatched hut burst open, and a wooden slip flew directly before Qin Tang's statue. Moments later, a nearly transparent figure emerged from within the wooden slip. The figure appeared aged, its features blurred and indistinct. It stood silently before the statue whose chest had been pierced through. After an extremely long pause, the old figure finally spoke in a slow and weathered voice. Qin Tang. Qin Tang's statue suddenly seemed to twitch. Then, accompanied by a harsh creaking sound, its head tilted to an unnatural angle, fixing its gaze upon the aged figure before it. A faint voice emerged from the statue, "Master." Though weak and nearly inaudible, the word exploded like thunder, reverberating throughout the entirety of Cloudwater Palace. "Master, Master, Master." Countless voices answered from every direction. Some were filled with agony, some with confusion, some with relief, and others with gratitude. They layered atop one another endlessly, echoing through the palace like a hellish symphony that refused to fade. Deep within Cloudwater Palace, at the location of Tai Hall, the turtle snake Tai appeared to awaken from an endless slumber, revealing its monstrous form. Yet, in the next instant, the phantom of a shattered sword emerged. The broken blade was lodged deep within Tai's massive body, leaving only a small fragment exposed. Pitch black in color, it radiated a terrifying killing intent that seemed capable of severing heaven itself. The broken sword trembled slightly, releasing a grating sound akin to metal scraping against a whetstone. Instantly, countless sword shadows descended from the void and stabbed savagely into the turtle snake monster. Tai released a miserable howl before shrinking back into Tai Hall in pain. Standing before Qin Tang's statue, the translucent figure of Fuzi cast a glance toward Tai Hall, and released a long, weary sigh. Then, the master extended a hand and took hold of the wooden slip. Placing both hands behind his back, he lifted his gaze toward the heavens, drawing in a deep breath. His figure expanded dramatically. In mere moments, he towered between heaven and earth like a giant holding up the sky itself. His beard and hair flared wildly as he unleashed a furious roar. "Heavenly Physician!" The master's thunderous cry instantly spread across every corner of Cloudwater Palace. Following that roar, an eerie silence descended over the entire palace. Then, one after another, voices overflowing with resentment and hatred surged skyward. "Heavenly Physician!" The screams seemed endless. They carried such despair and boundless hatred that even Li Fan, standing far outside Cloudwater Palace, felt a chill run down his spine. High above Cloudwater Palace, directly before the colossal figure of the master, a tiny white jade figurine suddenly appeared. The figurine emitted a faint glow before transforming into the size of a normal person. He possessed a kindly face and graying hair. It was none other than the mysterious old man who had once met Li Fan's avatar, Lin Fan. Completely ignoring the sea of furious roars beneath him, the heavenly physician smiled faintly. "Everyone, it has been a long time." The master's enormous body trembled violently, hatred twisted his features beyond recognition, his teeth clenched tightly as though countless words struggled to emerge, yet in the end, only a single word escaped: "Die." The heavens themselves appeared to darken as endless killing intent gathered above. Fine cracks instantly spread across the heavenly physician's body. Yet he merely brushed his robe lightly, and every crack vanished without a trace. Looking toward the master, the heavenly physician smiled gently. "Must you truly become so enraged over nothing more than a disagreement?" The smile disappeared abruptly, replaced by an expression as cold as frost. "Anger is a sickness, and sickness must be cured." Outside Cloudwater Palace, Li Fan's expression changed dramatically. Without hesitation, he activated every defensive talisman on his body. At the same time, he pushed his movement technique to its absolute limit and fled backward at full speed. A terrifying shockwave erupted from Cloudwater Palace. In a single instant, it swept across the entire Tsongyan Sea and continued spreading toward neighboring provinces without losing momentum. At that moment, every major force within the cultivation world became aware of the disturbance in the Tsongyan Sea. Several vast consciousnesses seemed to exchange thoughts briefly, then, one after another, they fell silent. The shockwave arrived. Li Fan was tossed backward like a withered leaf caught in a hurricane. He was carried hundreds of li before finally regaining control of himself. Fortunately, the attack seemed more imposing than destructive. Its power had been controlled with astonishing precision. Aside from stirring a colossal tidal wave that spread across the Tsongyan Sea, it caused virtually no actual damage. Yet Li Fan felt no relief. If anything, the display only reinforced how terrifying the opponent truly was. To wield such overwhelming force while maintaining such precise control was far more frightening than simple destruction. The connection established through formless killing mechanism had disappeared entirely, proving that the unfortunate cultivator he had been observing had perished during the clash between those supreme beings. Yet instead of retreating farther away, Li Fan reversed course and sped back toward Cloudwater Palace. The enormous translucent blue palace now carried a faint black tint. Overhead, dark clouds gathered while thunder rolled endlessly. A gigantic vortex had formed above Cloudwater Palace, as though determined to devour the structure that had only recently escaped its confinement. The heavens themselves appeared to tremble. Entire rows of tilted buildings slowly collapsed inward, drawn toward the center of the vortex. Faint cries of unwillingness and fury could still be heard echoing from within Cloudwater Palace. But nothing could alter its inevitable fate as it gradually disappeared from existence. Not long afterward, the ancient sect that had reappeared in this world a little more than 5 years ago vanished once again from heaven and earth.